you can come in with no skills or come in as an accomplished young musician and build on those skill sets. And you have the opportunity to work with these world renowned musicians who travel. Music is their
Their life. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us on the Elation podcast today, where we enjoy exhilarating euphoria through creation and collaboration. Today, we're here with Kia Robinson Hatfield. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
It's good to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on today.
Thank you.
We're going to talk a little bit about music and some Jazz Heritage Foundation stuff
Sure.
and kids learning and all kinds of fun things. But let's
Yeah.
start on you. Where you're from and tell
Yeah.
everybody your origin story.
Yeah, my villain story or origin story. Yeah, I was born in Natchez, which is 3 hours up the road from New Orleans, but
Yep.
spent my entire life, infancy up until now, in and around New Orleans. And, there's an interesting connection just there that connects Natchez to New Orleans, the Mississippi River, and
Absolutely.
so forth. But, New Orleans is my home. It's the home of my family of multiple generations between here and Natchez on both sides of my family. But that's where I'm from. And
Well,
where I
Natchez is a
play.
cool place.
Yeah,
I mean, we have so many things that are named Natchez in New Orleans that are
right.
just, historic.
Exactly.
What was like your heritage, like your family? What did they do in Natchez? Did they like do something that brought goods to New Orleans or
Yeah.
something like that?
It's a lot of cultural trade
A lot of
and
cultural trade stuff.
and more grimly, mortuary funeral directing. But
Okay, all right.
it brought elation to them.
There you go. Absolutely.
but,
Hey, death
yeah.
pays.
Exactly. But between New Orleans and Natchez, there was that trade that they
Okay.
had. So, that was. But like I said, generations on both sides between New Orleans and Natchez, and everywhere in between.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Where did you go to high school?
Xavier Prep Uptown.
All right. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And college? Did you go to college?
I did. I went to the University of Louisiana at Lafayette.
Okay.
Opened a whole new world for me. Learned a lot more about places outside of New Orleans.
Yeah. Did you realize we're in a bubble?
We are in a bubble, in
Yeah.
a very New Orleans.
Yep. Yep.
But
It's a broad bubble.
Yeah.
Because it's not like a bubble you feel like you can burst. It's open
it's
bubble.
open.
But
Yeah.
you're surrounded by New Orleans.
Yeah. And I mean, going to school out there for however many years, it definitely opened my eyes to appreciating all of Louisiana and its cultural offerings.
What did you go to college for?
I went for the first time.
Well, we all got that story.
That's a different podcast. But I went for mass communications, and I was a double major in francophone studies. So
Okay.
a little bit of everything.
Okay, mass communications definitely helps you out.
Yeah.
Definitely helps you out on a
Yeah.
broad spectrum of things.
Yeah.
Well, so what brought you to music?
I think growing up in New Orleans, music has always just intrinsically been a part of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the 90s, music was in the schools. It was in our school day, before school, during school, and after school.
Absolutely.
And so I think that it's a part of me. Family members are musicians. It's just part of my being.
Well, growing up down here, I mean, it's even if none of our family played music, music played a part in our lives.
Yeah, for sure.
So I felt,
I was telling someone the other day, I'm like, I remember going to, making groceries with my mama in Schwegmans, and there were like live bands in Schwegman. I'm like, is that normal in other places? Like, I remember, that's a core memory for me.
That's awesome.
And it's just always been a part of things. I'm not a musician.
Right.
I've tried to be. I'm not great at it. But it's just been a part of my life, and I think I just naturally fell into this field.
The music space.
Yeah.
Well, tell a little bit about what you do in music.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm not a musician. I am a music appreciator. But I work with the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation, and I'm the director of programs, marketing, and communications. And so that means I'm directing all of the programs that are happening in our space, from music programs to capacity building programs to cultural programs, festivals, concerts, and whatnot. So I work with an incredible team of people who are also, some of them are musicians
Right.
and doers, and to create these opportunities for local musicians, you know, creatives, culinary artists, visual artists, and so forth.
So it's not just music
No,
in the Heritage Foundation.
no, it's broad. It is heritage. Is Louisiana heritage.
Okay, awesome, awesome. How many concerts do you guys do a year?
We are right now at about 26 a year,
Okay.
and that does not include our 4 free music festivals. There's Jazz Fest, but then outside of Jazz Fest, there's all these other um, programs that we produce and concerts and festivals. So,
Right.
yeah.
Um, how much of a part do you guys play in picking local artists to be on like a Jazz Fest stage?
So the foundation, we do not produce Jazz Fest. That is done that is produced on our behalf by Festival Productions, which is led by Quint Davis.
Right.
And so there's some discussions ahead of time, but
It's kind
those,
of left to
yeah,
them.
those guys are,
Yeah.
yeah, they're great at
Uh,
what they do.
yeah, they're good what they're absolutely good what they do. Okay, well, as far as well, I'm sure you work with Reed Wick a lot,
Yep,
right? Yeah, I
yep, I
love
know
Reed.
Reed, yep.
Yep. The more Grammy Association people down here,
Mm-hmm.
the better.
Yeah,
I always said that's kind of the lackluster part of what we have as a music business down here is we don't have a music business down here. We
right.
have musicians and we have creativity, we have art,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't necessarily have the mechanism for them to implement the business side of things the way it works outside of New Orleans in a way,
Yeah,
you
not
know.
yet, not yet.
Yeah, and so I mean, that was actually one of the reasons why I came to build Elation down here. I spent 9 years in LA. I
Mm,
was coming back and forth and visiting family stuff, and every time I would leave, I would leave with more of a hole in my heart of what was missing
mm-hmm.
in the city, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm going back to LA understanding what the industry is,
Yeah,
and then to come home and just not see anything,
anything. Yeah,
familiar in that sense. I was like, man, there's a gap here. Somebody's
yeah.
not cultivating this.
Yeah, and it's not for a lack of trying, you
Right,
know. And like you said, there's Reed, like definitely some key players here who are trying to build that capacity. Nate Cameron, Raj,
right,
Smooth. I mean, and many more. Sherry McConnell. Um, they are and have been working in these spaces to build that infrastructure here. On our side of things, the Jazz and Heritage Foundation, we have programs for musicians, as well as other organizations,
right,
are producing, um, you know, uh, I guess, pathways to build that type of thing.
right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely coming. I feel like right now we have a pretty good group of people that are all working toward the same idea.
Yep.
Hopefully we can all put our powers together and make
And
something
make it,
happen.
yeah,
Because I feel like there needs to be a union or something down here that helps us out, just like the film industry.
yeah,
I mean, there's
yeah.
got to be somebody that's going to be a voice and kind of change the dynamics of being a musician in the city.
Well, and I can tell you, the landscape today looks a lot different than it did 5 years ago.
Right.
So, I think I see a natural progression of how that will come to be.
Um, is there a favorite thing that the Heritage Foundation does that you could pick? That's one thing
Oh,
that you can identify as like, man, that really made a difference.
oh man. I would say probably, I hate to pick between all we have so
I'm
many
sure.
programs, but I would say right now the Don Luce Jameson Heritage School of Music. It is our free music education program for kids 8 to 18. And it's, you can come in with no skills or come in as an accomplished young musician and build on those skill sets. But not but and the plus in that is that you have the opportunity to work with these world-renowned musicians who travel, who music is their
Right. Their
thing,
life.
their life, their career,
Right.
their, you know, money maker, and they are, teaching at this school. It's free. We pay them, of course. These little kids, and they're coming in all wide-eyed and just like, oh, I get to work with Kiana Linnell
Right.
or Don Vappy or
Right.
Derek Doge, and positioning them with these musicians to build on their skill sets. So, seeing that school, how it has evolved over time, and then seeing our musicians, young musicians, graduating from that program and going off to whatever their career choice is truly like one of the most beautiful things that I'm privileged to witness at the
Well,
foundation.
that's awesome. Well, watching kids learn is amazing in
Yeah,
itself.
yeah.
But watching an idea spark in their head is even more amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And I did, how I met Reed actually was I did Grammy Camp.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I was a panelist on their music production
Okay.
and panel, and that was probably 2014 or so
Okay.
out in
Sure.
LA
Yep.
at USC,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
that's how I met Reed, and um, watching. We did a crazy in like we did a live experience music production and writing seminar
Mhm.
where we had it was the end of the Grammy camp, so that all of the kids, we had like 250 kids in
Sure.
one auditorium,
Yeah.
and I had three groups of writers. Most of them had Grammy nominations or Grammys at the time,
Yeah.
and we picked kids out of the crowd to
Mhm.
come record like either a drum or a keyboard sound and build a beat. And when beat got big enough, we picked kids out the crowd to come work with the writing crew
Mhm.
to write to the song live on stage
Yeah.
while we were showing how to mix it.
That's cool.
And then when they were done writing, we recorded it live on
Very
stage,
cool.
and
Yeah.
then afterwards we uploaded it to Grammy Radio right
Oh,
after the
very
show.
cool.
So we
Yeah.
showed the entire process
Yeah.
in
That's
2.5
beautiful.
hours, and it was crazy. It was random,
Yeah.
and it worked.
Yeah.
But you start to see the brain work in these kids, and they can see
Definitely.
it's possible, and it's not so hard for them to overcome certain things.
Yeah. Listen, all of that. We have a pro audio workshop for kids as well. We have vocal workshops in addition to the music school, a beginners program. So we're taking those kids who have no instruments, no formal training, and taking them as they are and teaching them.
Right.
And yeah, it's beautiful and amazing to watch them, like their brains just kind of like absorb all this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
And then by the end of a semester or the year, they're performing in front of audiences. They're performing at French Quarter Fest, they're performing at Jazz Fest, they're doing jam sessions. You see their confidence build, you see their performance change in school,
Right.
even their social interactions with other kids and teachers,
Right.
all of that.
Yeah, confidence
It
is a crazy thing,
it is,
huh?
yeah, it definitely is. So no, I can definitely agree with you on that. It's just an amazing thing to witness.
How many music schools are in New Orleans right now? There's a few, right? Do you guys work
Yeah,
with all of them, or
we have yeah, all of them in some sort of way are connected. Where the facilitators, I'm sorry, not the program administrators and directors are connected,
right?
and you have to be. We There's a cohort called the New Orleans Music Education Collaborative, and they meet I think once a month, and they talk about just music education in New Orleans as it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the conversation is, how do we improve it? How do we make it better? How do we make it more accessible? How do we get more kids involved in music? So, you know, off the top of my head, there's Roots of Music, the Ellis Marsalis Center, Trombone Shorty Academy.
Right.
There's a good
This is a
bit.
good
There's a good
bit.
bit. Yeah, yeah.
Love trombone. And we had him here, not as a guest, but he was
Mm,
here doing some other stuff.
cool.
He's a great guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, but he also loves teaching kids.
yeah.
You know,
The
it's good that we have so many legends that have come out of the city that are willing to give back.
Well, yeah, Troy went through Heritage School of Music as well. And you'll see that with a lot of these musicians today, and you can say, oh, they went through Ellis Marsalis's program, or they went through the Heritage School of Music, or
Right.
and now they're giving back. They're now teaching,
Right.
or they have created these organizations and foundations to provide that type of resource to kids.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
No, and it's good. I mean, that's the only way it lives on,
That's the only
is if
way.
they give back.
Yeah.
Um, Well, let's talk about the Racial Day of Healing concert.
Oh yeah. So the Efforts of Grace, nonprofit organization in Central City, um, doing business as Ashe Cultural Arts Center. A couple years back, we did a collaboration with them, and it was called the Racial Day of Healing. This is a national call,
Mm-hmm.
but here in New Orleans, it was in collaboration. Ashe did this in collaboration with us, and it's just a beautiful collision of um, understanding, musicality, creativity, poetry, performance, and just a moment to pause and be like, listen, there's a lot of stuff happening in this world. And we need to start with a little bit of racial healing. And we can do that through a creative lens.
Right.
And so we had poets and, of course, singers and performers dancing. It was a few years ago, but what resonates with me with that event, that program, was what happened after the cameras went off, and the it was just the aftermath, like the artists and musicians still hanging around in the room,
Right.
and just the part. Sunny Patterson was there, and she's the most beautiful person, um, icon, poet,
Right.
also there. Some singers there, and it was just no cameras are running. There's no script, nothing like that, and it's just the
Real.
the
Yeah.
real
Yeah.
raw emotions. It was singing and chanting and praying a bit, um, and holding hands. It was just a powerful moment that I'll never forget as long as I live.
Yeah, music heals across all
It
spectrums. It
does.
really does.
Yeah.
I feel like in the big moments of negativity in the world, music can save everything.
Yeah, there's it's something that translates across any language barrier. There's music,
Mm-hmm.
um, and when there isn't that common thing, that's when things can kind of go awry. But
Right.
for
Yeah.
me, I know I've been witness to it. Music always brings us back to a place of understanding.
Absolutely. Well, it should be that real moment because artistic ways of speaking are also some of the realest ways we can learn things.
Mm,
Because I feel like teachers necessarily aren't the same as they used to be growing up. They're more like book readers and
mm,
kind of help you get through the book. They're not necessarily teaching you
mm.
real um, life experience.
Yeah.
So sometimes in those negative moments, we need to hear the real life experience to slap us in the face of what the
Mm-hmm.
real is.
Yeah.
And then you can get back to center once
Right.
you've actually have an understanding of things.
Yeah.
But when it's all gray area is when everything gets negative.
Negative. Right.
You
Yeah.
know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, tell me a little bit about the museum,
Yeah.
the Jazz and Heritage Museum, the downtown. Do you guys have
Mm.
anything to do with that, or?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay. I thought that was all.
We have an archive. We have the
Okay,
Jazz and
so
Heritage
maybe that's what
Archive.
I'm thinking
Yeah.
of.
We have the Jazz and Heritage Archive, which is basically the repository for everything Jazz Fest Foundation, WWOZ, and all of the many assets that we have. So you can go, I mean, I hate to call it a hidden gem, but it's in the French Quarter, and it's um, got an amazing over 50-year. Um,
That's where they threw the crawfish bowl for a read, right?
Oh, so that is at in Treme. That was were you there?
Yeah, I was there.
Oh,
Yeah,
we probably
we probably
probably met. Yeah.
met.
Yeah, so that okay, sorry. So that was at the George and Joyce Ween Jackson Heritage Center, which is our
Gotcha,
main headquarters.
gotcha.
Um, we do have an archive in the French Quarter that's led by our archivist Rachel Lyons, and like I said, repository for um, music, research, materials, crafts, physical things
Right.
from Jazz Fest. Like the first maps are there, photos that are over 50 years old are housed there. So it's an incredible resource for anyone doing research or any kind of scholarship projects to go there and use the archive for that type of study.
I
But
gotcha.
yeah, the George and Joyce Ween Center is in Treme. It's named for one of the founding the founding father of our festival of
Right.
Jazz Fest, George Wein, and his wife, Joyce Wein. I mean, yes, Joyce Wein.
Joyce, right.
And, that center is where we have concerts. It's the home of our music school. It's the home of community building events. Some Indian practices happen there. Some second lines come out of there. I mean, it's some repasses have happened there. So it's kind of a hub of um, community activities.
I got you.
Yeah.
So it's kind of I mean, so the foundation really is a space for the community. I mean,
Yeah.
so
That's all we can be. We rely so incredibly much on our community. And we, are happy to be a hub for that type of creativity. And so, yeah, it's not uncommon for a drumming class to come and be like, can we use your space? We want to teach some kids drumming. Or a second line, a social and pleasure club wanting to come out of our space for their parade. Sure.
okay,
Or a musician has passed away and you need our space for a repass. Um, it's not uncommon. It's actually pretty common.
I got you.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Well, it's a good. I mean, it's always good when you get everybody together to be creative, and I
Hmm.
feel like it creates a family. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. There's so much energy in that space. Just because of all of the people that have come through there,
absolutely.
Ellis Marsalis performed one of his last concerts in that space.
Wow,
It's just there's a lot of energy, a lot of good energy in that building and the surrounding spaces. And, we want to continue that.
absolutely. Do you have a favorite jazz artist?
Oh, that's a hard question. That's not fair. I would say that one of my favorite artists was my high school chorus teacher at Xavier Prep,
Okay.
Jermaine Basil, is probably one of my greatest influences. And she is the one who really opened my eyes up to jazz, not only jazz, but gospel, Negro spirituals, R&B. So, Miss Basil, number one.
Okay.
She's just kind of the epitome of New Orleans jazz to me. But she opened my eyes to the world of Kid Jordan and his legacy, his children, and those musicians. Kid Jordan, Thelonious Monk, Ron Carter, Don Vappy, Sharon Martin.
So you're an avid listener. That's
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I don't have just one, but I attribute that all to Miss Basil, who I still call every now and then and bug her like, Miss Basil, your favorite student, what's up? And she's like, get off my phone. But yeah, it's not. It'll never just be one. There's, and even the you know newer cats that not newer, but this generation, I would say, is Christian Scott, Chief Adjoa Atunde, Nick Payton is. I could listen to him all day, you know. So
That's awesome.
yeah,
That's awesome. Well, it definitely sounds like you love music.
I
So,
do.
um, what would be your favorite story of an artist that came through the foundation?
Oh, um, you know, I would say I don't know if she necessarily came through, but many years ago when I first started working at the foundation, uh, I was like, oh, I need an intern. And so I put a call out for interns, and I had my first interview was this young lady who came in. She was in at UNO studying business, and I think I asked a dumb question, like, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" She goes, "I want to be a singer," and I'm like, "Whoa!" I was like, "Well," and I had this fake mic on my desk. Not fake; it was an old microphone. I came from radio
Right.
and brought that mic with me. But anyway, I said, well, show me what you got. And so my door is open to my office. She grabs the microphone and she starts singing. And I'm like, whoa. And before you know it, our entire office staff is in my office and we're getting this concert from Robin Barnes, who is incredibly talented, beautiful, beautiful human being. Um, and guess what? She's a singer.
Right.
She's a very talented singer doing her thing. And now it's a family business because her children, she's got children. And but yeah, Robin Barnes, Jeffrey Miller, who went through the Heritage School of Music. and then went on to Juilliard and is this incredible bad musician. He's incredible.
Wow.
Yeah, those are just off the top of my
That's some
head.
good ones.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
very proud of them.
Juilliard. Wow, that's
Hmm.
a great place to take it. That's for
Yeah.
sure. That's awesome. Well, how do you feel about working in a trim A? Do you think that keeps the history inside you guys because you're there every
We
day?
have to be there.
Yeah.
I think of Treme as the the center of the heartbeat of New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
It is literally ground zero. And I could, if I could describe it in one word, it's live. It
Right.
is alive.
Yeah.
And there's music every day in Treme. I'm not exaggerating.
Oh
there's
yeah.
there's
No. Absolutely.
there's music. It is not uncommon for there to be a band just playing or a trumpeter going down the street. And so Treme is a live thing. The best part of Treme to me is the community that lives there.
Mm-hmm.
And they're a mix of musicians, culture bearers, Indians, baby dolls, artisans, culinary, artists. So it's incredible. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else in the world.
That's awesome. It seems to be a little creative gem.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's awesome. Well, what brings elation to you in your life?
Aside, of course, from family and friends, if I'm thinking about the work that I do, what brings elation to me is the satisfaction of having a program happen and people are impacted in a good way from it.
Right.
It is, and that could be from producing a concert and people are inspired by that and the musicians, and it's almost like a call and response.
Mm-hmm.
You see the musician feeding off the audience and vice versa, and just being a witness to that. It is, whether through our grants program, putting instruments in 30 kids' hands.
Right.
It is supporting a musician who's creating an album or an art installation exhibit. It truly comes from keeping this going, keeping our culture alive, keeping traditions happening, funding the people who create that
Right.
culture. That is ultimate elation for me.
There you go.
Yeah.
No, that definitely keeps the wheel turning.
Yeah.
So keep putting butter on the bread, and it'll keep being spread, right?
Yeah, true that.
But all right, well, great. Well, thanks so much, and
Thank you.
we had a great conversation today.
Yeah,
Thanks.
we did.
Thanks for coming by.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for listening. Would you please give everybody your socials and where they can find the foundation and
Sure.
all that
You can
stuff?
find us at Jazz and Heritage on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, X, YouTube.
All of it.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, please look it up because it is a great foundation and definitely helps the city of New Orleans. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.